All right, boyos, welcome back to the third episode of the Citrus Cast. Once again, joined by me, your host Benji, Plainset, also known as Creamer.
Hello.
And then Snowfox, also known as Aiden.
Ooh, how are we doing?
How's it going, boys? All right.
Yeah, it's going well. How are you?
Good. So I believe you're leading this week, Creamer.
We're gonna try and see how it goes. Yeah.
What have you got for us?
So this is something I want to talk about for a while, actually, like just in general. But it's like the effects of social media on day-to-day life and how it's affecting the world and the greater aspects of life.
Wow.
It's quite an in-depth topic. It sounds
Say
a lot
you
more than
write
what
your dissertation.
I mean, you may as well be. Yeah. I mean, I've not done much reading into it, but from what I do, it's a very interesting topic, and I think there's quite a lot to discuss about it that we could go through.
So I watched that documentary you put in. I watched
What
it.
do you think of the documentary?
Watched it today, so it was fresh on the mind.
I also watched it today, so it was fresh on my mind.
Otherwise, I know I'd forget literally everything. Yeah.
What
But
did you
yeah,
think of the
it was
documentary?
very, very, very interesting. Very.
It was. For those who don't know, it's called The Social Dilemma. It's a Netflix documentary,
Yeah.
and it's a really, really good documentary, worth watching.
Quite recent as well, so it's quite topical.
Up to date,
Worth
yeah.
a watch. But yeah, there was a couple of things I've made notes on. A couple of things we could pick up on.
Very nice.
But yeah, overall, it's really interesting. It does get you thinking a lot.
About the world and how it's going to change, things like that, where we are now, and where it's going to lead us to in the next 20 years or so,
Yeah.
and where it all ends up.
Did you watch it? No.
No, I did not. I've been a very bad boy and
Disappointment.
Wow.
not watched any of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so for me, and I guess, what is it about?
So the documentary basically goes into how social media affects the lives, and basically how it's become what it has versus what it was made to be. So there's two different sides of social media of the coin. There's the good side, which is what everyone sees and what everyone knows about. You know, using Facebook, connecting with family, connecting with friends, being able to talk to you, being able to do this podcast now through Discord. You know, they're all the good aspects of social media. You know, the connection, things like that. But there's also a darker side to it about. I'm sure everyone knows what it's anyway. But like, there's fake news. There's all the addictions. You know, everyone, the advertisement companies using them to basically try and get information out of social media companies to use them against the world. So like, you know, rigging elections, things like that as well. So I don't know, which side do you want to talk about first? Do you want to do the good, the bad, or the ugly?
The good, the
Yes.
bad, or the ugly. I think it's good to start on sort of the good side of it, because it has really benefited us as a fucking species, I suppose.
Yeah, you're not joking.
Put us all closer together and things like that. I mean, yeah, you just look very recently to all the stuff that's been happening in Ukraine and everything that's people have put together and things that have been sent over and stuff like that.
Like the relief aid and things like that. Yeah, it's so well done, and it's just it's ridiculous. Really, like I read something a while ago that like I don't know when this was. It could be outdated by now, but more people in Africa have access to Facebook more than like drinking water, like clean drinking water, and it's just ridiculous. But the amount that you can achieve through relief aid, things like that now is just ridiculous, because everyone can be connected as long as they have access to the internet, which pretty much 90% of the planet does, if they want to.
But it's
What do you think's the best part about it, social media though?
I just I'd say probably the whole humanitarian aspect of it, of just how influential it can be in people's lives in terms of bringing people together. Like, yeah, a couple of times it mentions in that documentary how, you know, people lost family and stuff like that. How they've managed to reconnect after years because of Facebook and this, that, and the other. So that side, it's really sort of like wholesome and heartwarming when you see a lot of that sort of stuff, because you're like, oh, twins separated at birth, reunite after 50 years, and it's like, fucking hell. You know,
You never know.
It just goes to show some of the stuff. Like it happened with my dad. He had a cousin that
Really?
lives in Australia, and they just didn't know about him because like their parents died early on, and they just didn't know that they had this kid in Australia.
How does that even happen though? How did they meet up like that?
I think it was through a series of things, and then obviously they got connected on Facebook somehow. They were like, oh, you know,
Like it'll be like this person, like, oh, he's friends with your aunt on Facebook, and you know,
and
she
it's like,
does this.
oh, your last name's Cooney, and it's like, oh, your dad was whatever his name was, and stuff like that. And it's like, fucking hell.
Granddad's this, my granddad was this. Hang on,
Yeah.
what's this? We're actually related.
Yeah. Well, this is it really. So my dad does a lot of family history, as you guys know.
Yeah.
And he basically through it he finds lots and lots of people that you don't realise that you're connected to, and then when you go on something like Facebook and you find them and you just message them out of the blue, just saying, "Hey, I found this such and such a person. Are you related to them?" You find out you are, and then you've just found like someone new to add to the family that you can just talk to. So it's great for that, for like just finding people who A are related to you, or B you've not spoken to in a long time, because you can just search them up and instantly get in contact with them.
Yeah.
Find it great, really.
It is really, really good for things like that. Like just the whole connection aspects. That is what it was designed to be. It was designed to be, you know, John meets Sam in the street. They go home and they start talking online because they can't meet up anymore, or he goes off, moves somewhere else. They talk online. They stay connected.
Yeah.
Like is it the rule of 6? Is it or something like that? Like everyone knows everyone knows everyone connected by 6 people.
Yeah, it's 6 degrees of separation.
6 degrees of separation.
The sort of the rule.
But that just
all about it, isn't it?
That narrows that so much. Like it's with social media, you could probably dim that down a degree of people.
Yeah.
Because even if I don't speak to people anymore, when people went to school with things like that, then they're friends I'm still friends with them on Facebook, and then it'll say recommended friends. If I add them, that knocks it down a degree. I may not know them, I may not speak to them well, but then that knocks down to a whole degree of person, which is just insane, really. When you think about it. But it's such a well-made thing. But that's also why it's like the worst thing for us, because it's so well made.
As Charlie Chaplin said, we have now have speed but shut ourselves in.
Yep.
In his famous speech, which is true.
It is very true.
It's like obviously at one point in that documentary there was a fella talking. He was saying like it's just a new thing we've got to deal with now. It was like, oh, you go back to like the 50s and stuff like that. You'd always have people always had the Reds in magazines and stuff like that. Now it's like
just the new way of getting information now.
Yeah, and stuff like that. But
like the amount of people buying the newspaper now compared to before Facebook started, it's probably dropped by about 80%.
But it's like it, and then another fellow was on about like as that has progressed so much over the last 10 years, humans just haven't evolved at all for like 10,000 years. So we've still got the same hardware that we had for what was it? For processing conversations about fucking an animal that we needed to hunt as we have now, and we're connected through all these different apps and stuff like that. Because I was always thinking, I was like,
built to have this level of connection. We're built to connect, but only within the realms of people we can both speak to, really, or physically communicate with. We're not meant to communicate with tens of thousands of people on the planet all at once. Like, Instagram being the one. Like, if you put a picture up, you're not supposed to be able to react to 10,000 likes.
Yeah, like you look at us, our group of friends. Like, we're all obviously very close group of friends, but we don't see each other that often, like physically. You know, maybe once, twice.
Footy once a week.
Oh yeah, footy and stuff like that.
Footy once a week, but other than that, yeah, once, twice a month.
Yeah, at push. But we're always talking. We're always connected with each other because of all the different apps we use and devices we connect through them.
Facebook, Discord, you know, even Spotify, seeing what music we're listening to, things like that. It all connects us together.
I always think sometimes like, oh, I don't use social media that much. I don't do this, but then I think like how much time I spend on Steam and then on Discord and then on YouTube as well. So it's all these other things that you don't really think about it because they're so integrated into your life now. It just sort of it's like second nature.
Yeah, I did this thing before. I was like, how much screen time do you think you've got on your phone looking at things like Facebook, you know, TikTok, things like that, whatever? Yeah. And I was like, that's probably about an hour or so. Looked at my screen time, it was nearly 4 hours on average. I was like, how is that possible? Yeah. Like, I don't feel like I look at it that much, but clearly I do because it's just addictive.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's because I'm talking to people. I'm on Snapchat, I'm on Facebook, I'm talking to people as well. That takes that into account. But, I don't know, just crazy.
Like, obviously with my job as well, it all revolves around technology. I spend a lot of time, you know, with technology during the day, and then,
Yeah, emailing people and things as well.
and then sort of like I come home and I spend time on like my phone, not as much. I'll be honest, I don't use my phone that much, but it's more my computer more than anything else that I'm always on, because I'm always playing a game or like on Reddit or something like that, or even on Steam, or just sort of vibing. And we really don't. You're clueless sometimes of how much time you do actually spend on them. It's quite scary.
Yeah. And then you think, where did the days go?
Yeah.
Where have my hours gone? What have I done today?
That's why, like, when I book time off work, I try to avoid booking like 2 weeks off, because I'll just fucking do nothing for literally 2 weeks.
Unless I have a thing to do in them 2 weeks, like I'm going on holiday, or I've got an exam coming up, I've got to do revision, I'll book a time off, but I will then use that time to revise.
Yeah.
Well, I say that I will still go on Facebook in principle, but I'll at least have more prerogative to revise, because it's what I've booked time off to do, and I don't get a lot of time off as is. So, yeah. But anyway, what about the flip side of it then? What do you think about what do you think the worst part about social media is?
Elon Musk taking over Twitter.
It touched on it at one point, talking about things like suicide rates, especially because
that's what I was going to say.
Obviously, it's weird. How do I phrase this? Like you wouldn't expect it to be so people that are so young.
Yeah.
When it was like 10 to 14 has gone up by like 200%. You're like, fuck me. You don't realise.
But that's since social media started. That's since people have been putting filters on pictures and things like that. Yeah. It's people not being like, people put a picture up with no filter, they get 2 likes. They put a filter on, they get 20 likes for the same picture. It's like 20 times the amount of likes.
Well, it's like it's all that like false advertising and stuff like that. Like there's been loads over the years where they've had the Don't Judge Me challenge and the Calm is a Bitch challenge and all these other ones.
Like the photo of me 10 years ago to the photo of me now, like all that kind of stuff. It's just cool.
And you see like how much it like actually impacts people, especially a lot of people that really, because I'm a bit of a fucking tramp. I don't particularly care about my image a lot. Like I brush my teeth and then scrub my hair in the morning and then that's it. You know, I'm not really this massive. Oh, I get my fucking jelly and
gotta have hair gels. You know, everything's looking tough.
Some people are like, oh yeah, I have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I spend an hour getting ready. You're like, fuck me. Yeah. And it just goes to show like how
difference in people.
What's the word? How conscious people are about their image and things like that. And social media does not fucking help at all. Because
if anything, it amplifies the issue.
A lot of fucking cunts out there that just enjoy being fucking cunts.
Yeah, like you literally exist to just make people's lives worse.
That is a big issue.
They will just negatively comment on people's posts. They probably don't even know. They'll just like go on a Reddit page or something like that. Someone's got a genuine issue or question or concern, and they'll just go, oh, "Fuck off, you're an idiot." And that's their response.
You get people are like, oh, "How can I make this person's day just shit?" Or you've got fucking big ears or whatever.
Yeah, literally.
I suppose that always existed. Obviously, it always existed because people are just like that naturally.
But you may never know. Like it used to be like you'd talk behind someone's back. Yeah. And you'd hear it if it came out or you overheard the conversation. Now it's not just there for you to see it; it's there for thousands and thousands of people to see.
Yeah.
And if one person says, like you say, you've got big ears, and then you go to school the next day, everyone is then looking at your ears, and you then get self-conscious about it, and that's what impacts the mental health, especially in kids, because there's so much more impressionable.
But it's like. Now you just can't hide from it sometimes, and when you think about it, you go, well, no fucking wonder there's so many people that feel like suicide is the only avenue they've got because they're just surrounded by this shit all the time. Yeah,
but the only way they know how to combat that, because they're so young, they won't go seek mental health counsel and things like that because they don't know. They're too young to, basically. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So what they'll do is they'll then put another picture on, and they'll get a dopamine high off the likes that photo gets. But then when they get the dopamine high and that wears off, they put another photo on and another photo on.
Yeah.
And then on that first photo, someone will put a negative comment, and then you get another negative comment, and that builds and builds and builds, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse, and that causes depression.
Yeah. Well, it's just an example of just how social media is used to amplify everything that goes on in real life anyway.
Yeah.
It's not just real; it's fake as well. That's the
yeah.
issue.
So like say, take bullying for example. That's a massive issue. Just normally in person. But then when you get to online abuse and things like that, it's because it masks the image of a person. You get all these keyboard warriors being like,
oh yeah, definitely. Reddit's prime for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it does it's like it creates this kind of facade that you can just hide behind because you're not seeing in person. You don't have the consequences that you might see happen to you in real life because it's all hidden behind a screen.
Yeah, literally.
And it's a horrible thing to witness, let alone be on the end of. Or
most people in some part of their life will experience something like that.
I remember not so long ago, you know Jacksepticeye?
I do. Not personally.
His dad died, and then like you just got people that were just fucking giving him all this grief, saying like, "Oh, I'm glad your dad's dead," and all this stuff like that. Jesus. And you come out and made a video like, these people wouldn't say that to your face in real life, and they wouldn't because they've got this thing to hide behind, so you can just say
to hide behind
whatever you want and literally have zero consequences. So then it just fuels itself all the time then, because you get someone else who's like maybe a younger person who's easily influenced going, oh well, if that person can say it, fucking I can.
And
then it carries over into real life then, because you'll get people who won't know the difference between right and wrong. They'll say it and get the fucking heads kicked in. By some guys.
It's like in schools now, like when we were in year 7 compared to the year 7s now, the attitude of people is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like when we were in year 7, like if we shouted at a teacher, we get absolutely bollocked. Yeah. If someone shouts at a teacher now, they're praised for it because it's just the way social media works. Like they're taught that there's no negative impact on bad behavior.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know I can't remember if they really touched upon it a lot. I don't think they did. But sort of like a big negative thing about it now, and a real big, like, I remember when TikTok first came out, but it wasn't called TikTok, it was called Musical.ly, if you remember.
Remember that.
And like it was just, I remember there was a fellow I watch on YouTube called Daz Games, and he did a review and he was like, when he was watching it, he made a joke and he was like, also Musical.ly is basically Tinder for pedophiles, because it was just all these young people doing things that young people shouldn't be doing. And you get some fucking creepy people out there that harness that sort of stuff, and it's so disturbing.
It is. It really is. And then it evolved into TikTok, and it's still the same thing, but it's got more of a shell now.
It's not as bad now. There's stuff on there now which is worth watching.
Yeah, but the problem is there's no regulation.
No, there isn't.
No one regulates anything you put on social media. You physically can't. Like, I don't know how you would.
Yeah.
Like, if someone puts a negative comment, you can't instantly take that down, because how do you discern positive from negative? How does a computer? That's all it is. It's just an algorithm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just saying, like, what is this? What is that? What's your For You page on TikTok? It just goes, you've watched 20 of these videos, you probably like this one.
Yeah.
What does it know? What's good and what's bad? It doesn't. You can't blame the system.
You've got a couple of platforms like Facebook and YouTube. They have a couple of regulations behind like explicit content and stuff like that. But platforms like fucking Reddit and Twitter just have like zero filter whatsoever.
Zero regulation. Yeah. On Reddit, especially, people just put whatever the hell they want and they don't give a damn. Like, a revolution could start on Reddit. You know what? I'm pretty sure, like, if they wanted to, they could start like an actual like extremist revolution. They could just like start like terrorist attacks on Reddit if they wanted to, because there's just no regulation for it, and they'd never be able to track it.
This is my point when it goes back to Elon Musk taking over Twitter. Twitter is an absolute hellhole just for the ability for people to express their views is so free for them. Yes, there are regulations about what people can and can't say, but half the time, because I've been on the end of it, I've tweeted something that I thought was perfectly all right to say. And Twitter have come back to me and said, "Are you sure you want to tweet this? This doesn't sound quite right." And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that when the algorithm comes,
It's
it
found
comes
so
up
many
as
key things.
yeah, it comes up as something that's harmful to other people when it's not. Just because of the way it filters things.
Yeah.
And then you've got people who explicitly express their hatred online. And Twitter's like, nope, don't see anything wrong with this.
Yeah.
It's double standards,
It is.
not only from the algorithm, but from the people who work behind
But then who do you
the
blame?
back end of it.
Who do you blame for that? Do you blame the algorithm? Do you blame the people that made the algorithm?
Well,
Because all
both-
the algorithm does, realistically, is go, okay, you've liked this, you like that, you like this, you'll probably like this. That's all
Well-
the algorithm does. It's like, you followed these 20 people. Do you want to follow this 13th person? You know,
well,
do you-
it's not that. It's the actual content that people tweet themselves.
But you're
so-
also reading the content, so you're also to blame. Do you know what I mean? If you
But-
like...
That's the whole
Wait.
point. I don't want to be reading that content because it should not already be.
Oh, no, I agree. The
Well,
content
that's
should not be
the
there. But
point
that's
I'm
just
making.
saying that there's no regulation on it.
Yeah.
Like, you say that there's a regulation saying that it can recommend you to say different things or change the way you phrase something, things like that. But who's there to actually enforce that? Because all you have to do is press, yes, I'm sure I want to send this message.
Yeah.
And that's
That's all it takes.
that's what my second point about Twitter is. There is regulation, as I did say, but there is also not regulation because the people at Twitter don't do their jobs properly. So
Throwing shade left, right, and centre.
um,
Elon Musk.
so-
Fucking hell.
well,
Elon Musk Twitter, who's next? Chopping block.
so there's a lot of transphobia on Twitter, and it is absolutely horrendous. J.K. Rowling, for example, just her level of complete and utter disregard for people's lives in the things that she tweets out, which are harmful to everyone, really. Whether or not she believes it, that they are harmful or not, is a different question. That's for other people to work out. But the fact that she's able to put stuff out and it not go checked without people having to go onto her tweets and report them directly to Twitter, that shouldn't happen. Those things should be taken down immediately because they are harmful.
Yeah.
And it's the fault of Twitter not doing their jobs properly for allowing such hateful things like transphobia, like bullying, like that to happen on their own platform.
Yeah.
And it takes random people to report it to them to make things like that go away.
Yeah.
Well, that takes back to what Ben said before, with it being, we can't, like as a species, keep up with how advanced technology is. Like, we're advancing technology to way beyond we can comprehend. Like, AI's taken over already. We just don't realize it's taken over because we can't comprehend it yet. That's what it comes down to.
It does get to. It is quite scary when you think about it. It really is.
It is. It's terrifying. Like the way advertising on, like, say, Facebook works, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, Facebook makes money from advertising, so it posts advertising for you. But then the way that the algorithm works, so what it recommends you, it goes, you've liked this, you've liked that, this is what we're going to recommend for you. And it meets, like, the algorithm has criteria. Like, you know how AI works, you're probably better explaining than I am, but you need to set it a goal, you need to set it points to achieve on that goal to improve the AI.
Yeah.
Those points it achieves is how many likes, how many follows, how many advertisements you click on, things like that. If you click on 20 advertisements, then it'll just keep giving you more and more advertisements. It keeps you addicted. But then when you start slowing down, when you get tired or anything, you think about putting it away, it sends a notification through.
Yeah.
This, and that then goes, oh, I've got to go back on now, I've got to check. You check who's liked the photo, you then check the comments on the photo, you click on someone's profile, it just keeps you on and on and on.
Yeah.
Facebook makes money from how long you spend on Facebook.
It is that the whole Alice in Wonderland, fucking down the rabbit hole sort of thing. Like
there was an interview. I can't remember who did it. It was the basketball player, I want to say, and he said down the rabbit hole, and everyone was like, "Hang on, what?" And then there was this whole thing about saying that he was one of the flat earthers because they just couldn't believe what he was saying.
Yeah.
Like, and they use flat earth to like, I mean, any normal, well, reasonably minded person knows the earth isn't flat.
Yeah.
But it's the way that like conspiracy theories that we said last week or the week before that like it probably starts on social media now, modern conspiracy theories.
Yeah, but it's like it's always funny, sort of like a rabbit hole should go down on YouTube. Like I was the other day watching like the Office clips, and fucking ended up watching shorts of CS:GO skins, and it just goes to show like how just quickly
how you get from one.
But all that content which will pop up will be specifically tailored for you. Like it'll either be stuff, even stuff like you might have watched 6 months ago, and it'll still be relevant because it'll pop up back in your feed, and you'll see it, and you go, oh well, I watched that ages ago. This is quite interesting. It is a rabbit hole. You just keep going down and down and down and down and down.
It knows how to keep you on the website.
2 o'clock in the morning.
That's all it is. Everything knows how to keep you on the website. And the problem is, it's not going to get worse.
No.
Because it's learning from you. The more you're on the website, the more it learns, the better it gets. The more addictive it becomes. And that's all it becomes now, an addiction.
Yeah, it just goes to show, because it sort of, like, how long do you think it will be before you have, like, full-on rehab centres for people that are addicted to spending time on the internet and things like that?
There already are.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's...
There you go, then.
I'm pretty sure there's a diagnosis that you can get for internet addiction.
There is something called Snapchat dysmorphia.
Oh yeah, they mentioned it, didn't they?
Which is basically where you can't. It's like physical dysmorphia, where you look yourself in the mirror and go, "Oh, I'm fat," but you're not fat. You just think you're fat, so you keep losing weight.
Yeah,
it's like that. You have to keep. People go and get plastic surgery to make themselves look like a Snapchat filter.
Yeah,
because they're not happy with their appearance as is. Because when they put a picture on, they don't get any likes. So when they put a filter on the picture, they get 20 likes. They go, "That's how I need to look." And that's what Snapchat dysmorphia is. It's like they have to look like the filter to achieve this level of false beauty.
And all that stuff is shocking, but then you've got to think about it as well. Would we be better off as a species without these sort of things? Like,
no,
I don't think we would. I don't think we would.
We wouldn't. We think is social media is so good, but it needs regulation.
Oh, the system works fucking beautifully. It's just like you said. There is just no sort of regulation toward it whatsoever. But
the thing is, though, there is no regulation because the people who, the lawyers, the people who, the judges, things like that, they look at it and go, "I don't understand."
The problem is, like, you probably couldn't regulate it either. Like, I don't know if you've ever been on the dark web or anything like that. I think there was once I went on it, and there's just no way. Like, I'm sure, I don't know if you've ever seen the famous picture, like the iceberg and stuff like that, where the very top
we use like
surface,
10% of the internet or something.
But it just there's just no way of being able to do it, and that's why I don't think there's been any real effort to actually try and govern it, because you might as well just be fucking pissing in the wind.
Yeah, literally, like that's what, because as I say in the documentary, it's all people who've left the jobs at Twitter, Facebook, things like that for ethical concerns, because no one was doing anything about it. So they left and they started their own group, basically to try and not bring it down, but to make people realise that there are problems with it and we need to address the problems.
That's a shame, to be honest, because that really does drag it all down, because it is all fantastic until you start getting into that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
and
glitch.
There's just no way you'd be able to regulate anything like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, like it's just mad. Like, the online connection now is bigger than the physical connection between people. Like, as you say, I talk to you online more than I talk to you in person. Yeah, which is, it's crazy, really, considering how close friends we are.
Yeah, it's like with work, there are times where I'm on first names basis with people in America because I have to speak to, even in India, because I've got to speak to them for stuff through work.
And have you ever met them in person?
No, I probably never will.
Never will. But you know them so well.
Yeah. I know them because of my job. It goes to show, like, it's not just your personal life that this has come into issue with. It's your professional life as well, your career, your jobs, all this sort of stuff. It's you know, you look 10, 15 years down the line, it's all going to be interconnected in this one big way.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if every single, like, especially Elon Musk buying Twitter, I wouldn't be surprised if he bought Twitter, Facebook, all of them and just merged them into one website.
Yeah, it'll probably get to a point. It's like, I remember when we were talking about games and stuff like that, about sort of how far virtual reality will go now. How integrated it'll actually become into lives. And you'll get like this. Like, I don't think we're that far away now from having proper integration. Like, you had the Google Glass and stuff like that. But I don't think we're that far away now for having that sort of integration with people.
They're on trials with contact lenses now, for, for the Google Glass stuff.
Yeah.
You'll basically have a heads-up display in life. Yeah. I only know that because of my job. We have to look into stuff like this. But yeah, they're not doing like proper, like, out in the actual world trials. They're doing like, sitting in the office, things like that, trials. You won't be able to walk around them, but
have you ever seen that video of that? Have you ever seen that guy that's got the antenna in his head and it sends notifications and things like that? There's a guy and he's basically had an antenna connected to his head, and he was like, yeah, it's happened once or twice before where I've actually been hacked. Someone has actually hacked the antenna that is in his head. He had to have it for some reason, but then he just sort of made it a thing where he could use it for like social media and stuff like that, and it's unbelievable.
So how would wow, that's mad. Yeah. I'm gonna have to watch that video later.
Yeah.
Like how you'd get into it and things like that.
But yeah, I don't think it'll be too long at all before we start getting that sort of stuff.
No, definitely not.
And to be honest, I'm fucking looking forward to it.
I am, but I'm also worried about it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be so good and it's going to be so interconnected. So well, it's just going to be brilliant when it happens. So but it's going to be so worrying from how addicted I'm going to be to it, and I already know how addicted I'm going to be to it. I'm going to be okay with that.
You'll be able to play Skyrim on your smart contact lens soon.
Play Skyrim on your microwave at the minute, can't you?
Yeah, new smart fridge.
Smart fridge.
Yeah. So I was talking to my dad the other day. Actually, it was yesterday. And we were saying how the pandemic was actually a little bit of a blessing for high streets. I'll get on to why in a sec. But so we were talking about how Amazon had lost was it 15%? Had a 15% drop in its earnings for the first time since 2015 or something like that. And we were saying how, like, this is good for the high streets because the pandemic's now over. But we were discussing about how it's not the fact that the pandemic's now over, people are going back to the high street and not shopping online. It's because people have missed the human connection and how social media, while it's all great and all that, it lacks the physical aspect of society that we're, as a social species, we need. Yeah. So yeah, I think there are effects of worldwide pandemics and things like that and the health concerns, but the effects of social media itself on the human psyche is unique in and of itself, in the fact that it's great. We have all these connections. We can talk to people whenever we want. We just can't see them.
Yeah.
And
that is the horrible part of it.
Yeah. We need to talk to people. We need like human contact.
We need physical human contact, and social media does not give us that. No matter how many times we speak over Zoom or show videos of our screens or our faces on Discord or whatever, the act of being in the presence of another human being is required, and social media will never provide us that physical contact that we need.
It's funny you should say that, because when the pandemic first happened, right, in work we started using Zoom a lot because obviously you couldn't have physical meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but it's just gone to show now how easy people realize things actually are. So, for example, we sometimes have people come to my work, you know, high ups that work, you know, talking, you know, not quite CEOs, but executive directors and all that sort of stuff. And rather than come into the site now for like an actual physical visit, they get someone, right, to walk around with a GoPro on them with some of the senior managers. I've been around a few times, and just show them different things just with a GoPro on it, and then just send it to them or live stream it rather than them actually coming here, because they're like, well, why do we need to come
get up and leave them?
Yeah, if we can just do that. It's like, oh, I'm not coming into site today. Let's just do a Zoom call and something like that. And it just goes to show, like, how that element is, like Aiden was saying, how that element of actual human interaction is slowly vanishing,
decreasing. And that's probably the cause for physical, like, drop in health as well, like drop in physical health, like obesity, more of an issue, things like that.
Yeah,
it probably depression, things like that as well. Not being able to give someone a hug, things like that.
Yeah.
Like in the lockdown, lots of people suffered with depression.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't see people, they needed physical contact. Like, especially people that live alone. Like, if you were, say, at university, something like that, and you didn't have your family, you just had your flatmates you there. You didn't know them well enough to, like, go, I need a hug or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, saying about it, like when the pandemic happened, that I couldn't go and see my nan in Prescott for like 12 weeks, and she was saying it was the most miserable 12 weeks of her entire life because she just couldn't do anything. She couldn't go out, she couldn't see anyone, things like that. And then we're now doing it by second nature now. You know, people...
What, just going out, you know?
No, like as in just reducing that contact because of social media.
Oh, yeah.
So psychologically, it's affecting people and they don't even realise it. And then you wake up one morning and you're like, fucking, I feel like shit. And that's because you've just not seen or spoke to anyone for such a long time.
Yeah. Like, so some of my days off now, I don't even leave the house. I speak to 50 people and I don't leave the house.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I probably don't know what the sun looked like this morning. I didn't see the sunset or sunrise, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm awake from 6 till 6.
Yeah. But, yeah, it is shocking when you really do start thinking about it and stuff like that. It is really scary.
Yes. Have you ever seen The Truman Show?
I have. Very good film. But,
I feel like that's what it's going to be like. Like, that's what the online profile is now.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know your life is being changed by the script of social media.
Yeah.
And it's just, one day we will all just wake up, I think. Well, I hope so anyway. And just be like, hang on, something's not right.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but something's not right. Because we need it to happen, because I don't know what's going to happen if we don't.
I think that's sad, really, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's sad, the fact that you wake up one morning and you're like, there's something missing out of my life. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. And all it is being able to say hi to someone.
Yeah. It is sad, the way some things are going. But I guess we can only just sort of hope that things improve just with time. People actually start to wake up and realise things are going terrible and we need to do something about it. We need to start thinking about how do we sort out
Unfortunately, I think there's a couple of reasons why that will never happen. Number one, obviously, the big thing is money.
Yeah.
The amount of money that would just...
Social media probably makes the most money of any individual.
Yeah, some of these fucking Amazon, Google, Facebook, they're the fucking richest companies on the planet. As they mentioned in that documentary, the richest companies that have ever existed in human history because of how monetized they all are and things like that.
Yeah.
So you've got that aspect of it. And then you think that we've started to adjust to it now and it'll only get worse. Just how detrimental it would be if it all suddenly changed and just fucking reverted back to...
Yeah. You couldn't just, like, shut down every social media website.
Yeah.
Because the world would go into absolute panic.
You think about, like, people, streamers and people who YouTube videos and people who write blogs and shit.
People
like
make a living off it now. Yeah.
all that stuff would go out the aspect. So I don't think it'd ever get to the point, unfortunately, where people are like, right, okay, we just need to wind down from this. I just think it'll just carry on building and building and building and building.
Yeah.
And to be fair, we are quite robust creatures. Like I don't think humans get enough credit sometimes from just how
quick we can adapt.
We can adapt to a situation, even though like we've not evolved through whatever period of time. We can
We'll adapt.
You know, we're the top species on this planet for a reason, and that's because mentally we can adapt to pretty much any situation and sort of roll with it. So I think that's a good thing as well, because if you had something, creatures where the IQ of apes and things like that, and they were in this, they just fucking crumble because it wouldn't be able to process,
comprehend it.
Yeah. But also on the other hand, you know, we're quite good at doing that.
Yeah, well, we built half the stuff. We know how it works. Well,
I mean, we'll probably end up killing ourselves with nuclear bombs and shit like that. But you know,
that's a different story altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the way you can weaponize things as well, like social media. Like, I don't even think it'll come to nukes. You know, I think it'll come to more. You know, like they did with the elections in America a couple of years ago, where they said Russia hacked the elections.
Yeah.
They had Facebook, and all they had to like take everyone to trial and be like, "Oh no, we've not been hacked." It's literally just Russia knowing how Facebook works and using it against them.
Yeah,
that's all it is. It's knowing how to like trigger certain people to cause an impact.
Yeah.
But if I told 20 people, like 20 like high activist people, which I know they are high activist people because I work at Facebook and I, you know, have all this background information on things they like and read, things like that. If I told 20 people to come to this rally, I could start a riot.
Yeah.
No different. Like the dark web do it all the time.
That was something it touched on a lot as well, about sort of fake news and things like that, and how really impactful that is, and how dangerous it can be, and how dangerous it actually is.
Well, it gets to the point where who knows what's true.
Yeah.
Like, was the coronavirus fake?
Yeah.
I mean, well, we know it wasn't, but like, there were people that genuinely thought it was fake, or it was the government saying stay inside, things like that.
But then, you know, you look at events that have happened in history that have, you know, nearly caused nukes to be fired and things like that.
Yeah.
And the interception
like Cuban Missile Crisis, things like that.
Yeah, the interception of letters during the wars and things like that, which literally changed the course of human history, and how much easier something like that could happen now with the spread of fake news and things like that. That to me, actually, now I think about it, that is probably the scariest part of it. Obviously, you've got the most damning part, which is obviously you look at like the suicide things in kids, and you know, how
on a personal, like an individually personal level, that's the biggest concern. But on the whole grand scale, like the whole, you know, the global impact of it all, if you get this, you know, Department of Defense, their Facebook account gets hacked.
Yeah.
And so they send the wrong tweet to the wrong person, or you know, they send the wrong message to someone in a different country saying, "Oh, imagine if they got bombed." Like, and someone just hacked it and said that as a joke. That could start a war. Like, quite easily start a war.
Like, I remember talking to Jack about this not so long ago, but I felt like we've slowly started. Back in the day, you know, you could just come up with anything. Oh yes, the Earth is at the center of the solar system and everything revolves around it, and people are like, okay. And then it got to the point where, like, you know, you look at Darwin and things like that, where people are like, right, okay, if you're saying something, you've got to actually fucking back it up with some evidence and some facts. Exactly. And now I feel like we're slowly reverting back to the stuff where you can just sort of say whatever you want, and people are just going to vibe with it.
Yeah. They'll vibe with it because it's easy, because no one wants to prove it.
It's easy, and then people are so frightened these days and so scared about saying something and being like, you're cancelled, this is happening. And
they don't want to be the only person with the other opinion.
Yeah.
So they'll just go with the flow. And whether that be right or wrong, they don't care. They just don't want to be different.
It is quite scary, because I'm a person of very much, you know, as long as you're happy, you're not hurting anyone, go for it. But it does annoy me a lot of times when you see people will just say something on fucking Twitter or other, or fucking 4chan is murder for it, where they'll just, and people will just be like, okay then. And you're like, well, no, fucking challenge them for it.
Yeah. If it's wrong, challenge. That's the way it goes. If you think something different, whether you can prove it or not, say something. Because chances are, there's, you know, wasn't there 7 billion people on the planet, 8 billion people? chances are at least one person is going to have the same opinion as you and is going to be looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
So get the support, even if it's wrong. Try and find people who have the same opinion, become friends with them. Even if you're wrong, you can at least be wrong together.
Absolutely.
And then you may find something else that you're both interested in and you're right about that everyone else is wrong about.
Yeah.
And then you can spread the truth on that.
The only problem I have with that is not the fact that you need someone else to back you up. It's when you are trying to put your opinion across and you come across someone who completely disregards your opinion and believes that what your opinion isn't factually correct. They'll just fob you off with a blah blah blah, and it's like, how do you talk to people like that? It's difficult. You'd be able to do it face to face because you've got that physical interaction, and no one would dare blah 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 unless you Trump blah 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 to people in their own faces, because we're not like that. We're social animals.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are absolute twats in the world who would do that every day, but the majority of people, when we're in the face,
have a reasonable conversation.
We'd have a normal, civilized conversation with them.
Yeah.
But when when the facade's up and you're not seen, you can fob someone off and you can ignore everything that they're saying and not have a civil conversation because, well, they're not there in person.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, that's one of the difficulties of the whole thing.
So what do you think then? Social media? Yes or no?
Yes. I'd give it my approval. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Could be better.
3 out of 5.
Could be worse. Not great. Not
quite utter dross.
Not quite utter dross. No. It sort of is what it is. There's no stopping it, and there's going to be very, very little that the average Joe can do about wide scale change. You've just got to see where the market goes and adapt. To it.
I know there's loads of scary stuff about it that I've probably brought up and things, but I'm not going to delete Facebook.
No.
It's just like that. Like, one, I'm too addicted to it, and 2, it's too good to use. Even if it is scary and it's got some negative downsides to it, everything does. I'm not going to delete it. I'm just going to keep going with it.
Yeah.
It's just what about you, Aiden?
I'm probably sort of in the same similar area, 2.5 to a 3 out of 5. It's good. It is really good. But humans fucking let it down at every single hurdle when we need to be pulling together and facing the adversity together, and we're just not.
So we're the issue.
We are the issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Humans are definitely the issue, but humans are also the solution.
Yeah, I rate that.
Yeah, everything's within our hands. Like I was saying, the system works beautifully. It's just
we manipulate it too much.
Yeah, one way or the other, we pull or push too much in one direction, and just it fucking all starts to crumble around us. Then, but that's what it is.
Yeah, I think all the problems would be solved if it wasn't addictive. If you didn't get notifications pushed through towards you for everything.
Yeah,
maybe it's like an email somewhere that you get an email through, and these you've received an email on your phone. You then check that email. And then that happens, you go over and check all your emails, things like that. You get a notification on Facebook, you then sit on Facebook for an hour.
Yeah.
If you didn't get the notification through and you had no incentive to go on to it, I feel like there'd be no issue, personally.
Like, I was talking to someone about this, actually, and they were saying, like, the government just has to do things like when you can do it on your kid's phone, where you can do it, they can only go on it for 4 hours. And I was thinking, well, you just couldn't really regulate that, because, you could enforce it with laws, but then you'd get people
get a second phone, get a second account.
Yeah, exactly. And then you'd try to put more things in place to try and regulate that. It would just spiral out of control. So there'd be no way of combating it on that front.
Have you seen Ready Player One?
No, I've not. It's something that I've wanted to watch for a long time, but never watched.
There's a bit at the end of that when that's what they try and do, because basically everyone's addicted to like this VR alternate reality thing.
Yeah.
And then, the very end of the film, someone like the main character. I'm going to spoil it for you, like if that's alright.
Go on.
The main character basically takes over the company, whatever it is, and he basically introduces a rule: you can only use it for so many hours a day.
Yeah.
And like they can enforce that because they are like the monopoly on that business.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, if Facebook do it, you then just go, "Oh, me 4 hours are on Facebook. I'll switch to Twitter and start messaging someone else instead."
Exactly. Yeah. That's it. But I think that's a good stopping point there. It's a good topic, that one, Cream. I enjoyed.
Bit more in depth than last time, I suppose.
I agree.
Yeah, good talk. I'm happy we talked about it. It's something I wanted to do for a while. So.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for everyone who's watched / listened, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah, see you later. Thank you.